All right, I guess everybody's telling me it's time to start. All right, go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. Go ahead and call the roll.
Trustee Sperling. Here. Trustee Lee is absent. Trustee Heinz.
Yes.
Trustee Youngerman.
Here.
Trustee Marisak.
Here.
And Trustee Bond.
Here.
And we have a quorum this evening. Moving on, we have public participation. The first one is the public comment period, where any member of the public that wishes to address the board can on any topic. If you're on the agenda to speak later, you don't have to speak now. I don't want to cut anybody off.
Come down.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Bridget. I live in Montgomery. I just had a couple concerns. I walk through the community a lot, and I didn't know if the village was aware of a fungus that is among us in our maples. It's called tar point. It doesn't hurt the integrity of the maples, but it does make them pretty ugly. And I've talked to quite a few different landscapers, and some say there's nothing you can do, and some say there is a spray for the fungus. The one thing it is contagious, and I walk all along through Montgomery on the different trails, and all our maples have it. I had some examples of it, but it literally looks like tar circles on the leaves. Anyway, I just thought maybe you guys could monitor that as the years go by, because they say it might work its way out, or it could contaminate all our maples. Anyway. And the other thing was, I live off of Briarcliff. The speed limit is 30. People do not go 30. And I know things have been tried, those speed monitors. I don't know if there's something else that can be done, except to lower the speed limit, but then that would be 25. 30 is fine. We're an animal, human-friendly community, and I am really afraid at the speeds and the recklessness that people drive, like really close to each other, that somebody's going to get hurt. And wondered if that could be looked into. I don't know what options are there for that. Seeing you have tried things. And the other thing is, a concern probably for everyone in this country, the protests. And I wondered if the village of Montgomery could perhaps say something about, you know, best wishes to our new president, maybe on the website, or something to encourage unity. It's terrible what's happening, and I just think it would be nice if the different cities across America might step up and say, we're supporting the new president or something. So, and I think that is it for me.
Awesome. All right. If our Public Works Director was here, he would likely comment on the fungus. I believe that Ed, is our tree arborist, is probably well aware of that and could go on for a great length of time about how we got that and how we could potentially treat it. But that's certainly something that we will keep an eye on. I know that Ed takes that very seriously. The speeding on Briarcliff, you know, the perceived speeding, we've had Briarcliff come up over the years, and Mayfield comes up, and it's almost cyclical, where a lot of not a lot, but several of similar streets come up from time to time. And I was just talking about this the other day with somebody. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, we did zero tolerance on Mayfield. And what came out of that was, several speeding tickets. I don't know how many we gave out. And they were all going 10 miles per hour over and less. And they were all thrown out in court. But the reality of it is, all of those people lived in that subdivision. So I guess the realization is that it's us, it's our neighborhood and our community that's speeding through our community. So I think there's more that we can do as citizens, as residents, and the village to, drive more cautiously ourselves through our own subdivisions, because I've noticed it. My folks live over on Timber Lane, and we've felt the same thing before. So there's things that we can do with residents on radar and the speed
The signs, yeah.
thingy. Yeah, and there may be truth to that as well. And what we can do is the police department will reach out and kind of see if we can work with you on maybe doing some resident radar. That's usually our first step, I believe, just to see what the speeds really are in the area. So, but we can go from there. And I think I was going to leave the new president issue alone, but I think just in general, the Village of Montgomery is here for our residents, all of our residents. There's 18,000 plus the people in Boulder Hill that we supply water to, who many of them feel like a part of this community. So we, as the village board and the Village of Montgomery, without prejudice and bias, support and encourage all of our residents to be, partners with us. And so I think we'll obviously continue to do that going forward. I get a little leery of jumping into the abyss with the presidential thing. So with that, if there's any other board members that have some thoughts on that. Otherwise, thank you for coming. All right, we'll move on to item B. And show of hands, who's here for that one? I'm just kidding. Would like to invite, and I might say your name wrong, Rebecca Raminsky. It's awesome. I'll invite you down to the podium, and Bella Raminsky and Zach Roskoff. These are two CRPS warriors, and this is regarding the complex regional pain syndrome, of which we have a proclamation following. And with that, welcome.
Sorry, I'm trying to write fast.
That's okay.
You're all night.
And you're on the agenda, so we have your information already. So,
Okay, CRPS. Oh, sorry about that. They said to imagine everybody in their underwear, so that's what I'm doing.
I wasn't supposed to be in mine. I'm sorry.
It wasn't orange, it was underwear. No. CRPS RSD, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. I know everyone is scratching their heads, puzzled, as they never heard of this disease. I thought the same thing when my daughter was diagnosed with this monster this past spring. My daughter had a benign tumor removed from her ankle. Afterwards, she was not getting relief from the excruciating pain. The doctor diagnosed her with CRPS. She developed this in her lower left leg. CRPS is a constant pain, normally in the limbs, which affects the central nervous system. We were very fortunate to get her diagnosed within that first month. Most are sadly not as lucky. You have a small window of 3 to 6 months for obtaining the best results. Many people wait several months, years, and several doctors later to get diagnosed. Sadly, this disease has been around since the Civil War, and doctors still never heard of it. That's why we are burning for a cure and awareness. Some of the visible symptoms are swelling, color change to the affected area, sensitive to cold, sweating, changes to the hair and nail growth. It could spread to other limbs, body parts, and can result in impairment, disability. CRPS is known for two things. One, the worst pain known to man disease. As you look at the McGill pain scale over there, it's the highest on the charts. It's higher than an amputated finger or digit or leg, even higher than, oh my gosh, having a baby. Where was I? Sorry about that. The second name is called the suicide disease because of the constant severe pain. It's haunting as a parent to realize the labor pain you went through having your child. They are feeling worse pain than that. No one should ever have to watch their loved one helplessly in that kind of pain. It's just cruel. No one should have to endure such suffering. As a parent, you would sell your soul to the devil to give your child relief. It feels like a constant stabbing pain, burning, pins and needle, someone's squeezing you as hard as they can, and also with spasms. CRPS has decreased ability to move the affected body part. You can simulate this by putting your hand in freezing cold water. Do not remove it for 1 minute. I guarantee after you put your hand in there for like 10 seconds, you're going to want to remove it. Imagine if you have CRPS, you'll feel this pain 24/7. A Kleenex, a raindrop, wind, a tiny bump can feel like a blowtorch touching their affected area. It is not in their head, and the pain is real. Please do not judge what you can't see. They look completely normal and healthy. People with invisible diseases mask their pain. When you ask them how they are doing, they put a smile on their face on the outside and say they're fine. I learned quickly just to watch my daughter's face. We are not going to let CRPS or RSD win. We are burning for a cure. Please help our mission to spread awareness. Thank you so much for everyone listening to me tonight and coming out here and supporting the Orange. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll follow that up with, more than the proclamation, I think, and this is a proclamation for CRPS and RSD Awareness Month, and we'll pass this tonight. We'll put this on our Facebook page and to promote awareness, but I think even more than that, it brings the community together doing an event like this. I mean, there's more people than have been in our board meeting for a very long time, but they're here to support your cause. So that probably carries a lot more weight than this will, but at least this will get awareness out there so our residents are all aware of this as well. So thank you for coming. So I'll read the proclamation and I'll entertain a motion for approval. Whereas complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, also known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy, RSD, is a nerve disorder which causes the brain and nervous system to send chronic pain signals to the affected body part. And whereas CRPS-RSD is a progressive chronic condition characterized by symptoms of prolonged pain that can be constant and in some people extremely severe and debilitating. And whereas the symptoms of CRPS are often described as burning that is out of proportion to the severity of the initial injury and can include extreme sensitivity to the touch and swelling. And whereas CRPS was first identified during the Civil War, but remains a poorly understood condition for which there is no cure. Whereas the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke and other institutes conduct research relating to CRPS, and whereas members of the CRPS community will be spreading awareness in November by coloring the world orange. Now therefore, I, Matt Brawley, Village President of Village of Montgomery, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2016 to be CRPS RSD Awareness Month in the village and urge everyone to support those courageously living with this condition. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
And Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. And with that, I have the proclamation. I would like to invite
Zach and,
everybody up here, right?
oh, no,
No?
Zach and Bella.
Zach, okay. If you guys want to come up, Zach and Bella.
It's okay.
Is there anything we can do in the village or any of the board members here besides now? All right. With that, you are certainly welcome to stick around for the entire meeting, but you don't have to. We won't be offended.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to remember.
That was Justin. I wouldn't have remembered. I called him.
Very cute. We could have had a big break.
Nice to have that many people here. Nice to have that size crowd, though.
All right, I'll move on with the consent agenda. I'll read the items, entertain a motion for approval. Minutes of the village board meeting of October 24th, the building report for November of 2016, accounts receivable report for November of 2016, accounts payable through November 9th, 2016, cancellation of the November 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting, appointment of Brittany Johnson, 1940 Springhaven Court, to the Historic Preservation Commission, Ordinance 1744, granting a special use for outdoor storage for 1415 Boar Avenue. This is the second reading. And Ordinance 1745, granting a variance to the west side yard setback requirement for 1415 Boar Avenue, second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Thank you.
That carries 5-0. Thank you. And so we're going to take these just a little bit out of order this evening. Trustee Youngerman has a conflicting meeting tonight. So he's asked that we do the items for discussion first. As not hearing any opposition to that.
And the conflicting meeting is my wife is supposed to be induced for our first baby here in about a half hour, so,
So he's already in trouble being here.
yeah.
All right, items for discussion. We have item A, 2016 tax levy. Justin.
Thank you, President Brawley. State statute requires that the village announce its estimated and proposed 2016 property tax levy at least 20 days prior to the passage of the tax levy ordinance. Staff recommends an estimated and proposed levy of $2,183,644. This amount, including new construction, is approximately $34,000 above the 2015 extension. That $34,000 includes approximately $15,000 on existing property and $19,000 on new property. If there are any questions at this time, I would be happy to answer them.
I just have a clarification, and I believe we talked about this before, but the proposed tax levy, even though we're allowed by law the incremental increase, we had frozen that. Is that correct?
Past
Okay.
years you have. It is
Okay.
in what he just proposed to you. What he just showed, if you go to the last page in the packet for it, there's a part right in the middle, it says prior year extension, and then it says PTEL, right here. The part that says PTEL, that's the part that you've frozen in the past years. That's that little increment that we're allowed to get. And then the 19,000 is the new property for the total increase, Justin quoted, of just over 34,000.
Are we going to have another chance to discuss this prior
Yes.
to this happening? So we
Yeah,
can,
this is just our discussion of it. You'll vote on it at the meeting in December.
The first meeting in December, yes.
But
And
if you have
that's-
thoughts.
that's historically when we have pulled it out in the past?
Well, no, you can tell us that now if that's the board's consensus.
That's my consensus, or that's my opinion, but obviously it's up to the other board members
I
as
didn't hear
well.
what you said. What did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
The PTEL, the incremental increase on the property tax, I'd like to continue, as we've done the last 3 years, to have that frozen and not increase at all. I'd also like at some point to discuss increasing the property tax rebate. I know that right now I think we're at 15%. I'd like to see if we can't bump that up another 5%.
I have a question related to the dollars-wise. Average home, resident, I'm guessing it goes by property value, but an average property value in Montgomery, what does this cost me a year?
Average residential property, this is based on approximately 6,000 homes. It would be $1.89 for each home in the community
Per year?
per year. And then for like a commercial, retail aspect, industrial, it's about $15 per year for about 250 businesses.
And we've frozen this for the past 3 years? 4 years? 3 years?
I was trying to remember. 3, I
It's
think.
three. It's three.
I think that's right, too.
Okay. I would be in support of not freezing it this year, of letting, for $1.80 per household, we've held it for 3 years, $2 a year, I'm good for that.
Yeah, but it's $2 per year for forever. And our property tax rebate, or our sales tax, what we're getting in sales tax is higher than what we had projected. So I feel that we can eliminate this and still be fiscally sound.
I mean, the reality is we could do either and be fiscally sound, but the
Those sources are going to different places, just so you know. The property tax we get and the sales tax money for the roads are in totally separate
Right.
funds, so they don't.
And we're losing
Put
money
together.
currently with telecommunications, correct? Cable with satellite switchovers. So our income is dropping annually.
That is correct.
Okay.
I think the main reason, I mean, the main reason for keeping it flat another year is obviously for our residents, for our taxpayers. You know, they don't. I know that they wouldn't miss $1.89, but people would certainly notice. The other side of that too is the governor and the state are still discussing whether or not they would pass a bill to freeze our tax levy. And so I look at it as another point of discussion that I can have with them, that we've frozen our tax levy on our own. We don't need you guys to do this for us. So that would be my reasoning why I'd like to see us keep this flat again this year, especially with, well, a lot of the stuff going on with the state, but I don't know exactly what's going to happen with our LGDF funds. Every year we ask for that and, and plead for it. And I think some year they're going to come and take that.
Sounds like a reason to
Yeah, no.
the PTEL.
But I want to have a reason.
Offset that money.
We've held the line on our own taxes. You don't need to do that for us. It doesn't carry so much weight when we increased it this year.
I kind of wonder also if we're entertaining new industry or new business, to be able to say we haven't raised our taxes in 4 or 5 years has to be a positive point for them. But I do recognize the moment's going to come when we can't continue that habit.
But we certainly don't have to make the decision on that tonight. Are there any other?
I would like to
Comments?
continue freezing it.
All right. Any other thoughts? Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for letting us discuss this first.
I am.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. All right, moving on, item B for discussion is the 2016-17 snow removal and ice control plan. Turn it over to our administrator.
Thank you. Since Todd is not here to discuss this, him and I discussed it, and I will cover it for you.
Just like said, turn it over to Jared. Just
Jared
to see the
handle-
look on his face.
And Jared's going to handle this. You see this every year. Usually we just bring to discuss changes. The changes this year were very minor. On the vehicles list on page 4, we added some new vehicles that we have purchased since last year. Also on page 5, where he's talking about the resources, there's a section there on beat heat, which is something different than we've used in the past. So that is a change. Then really the only other change of any merit is that we will be taking over Commerce Drive north of Alcott. So the road leading into United Sugars, we're going to plow that this year. So we're just taking that over. So really between the new equipment, the beat heat, and us taking over Commerce Drive are really the changes that Todd was going to highlight. So, but I did a lot quicker, I'm just going to say.
The beat heat, I've had several discussions about this. A family member that works for the state, and it's considerably less aggressive on the equipment as far as the caustic nature of the calcium chloride. So I think that I'm curious to see how it works.
All right, any other questions? No, this is a plan that's been fine-tuned methodically over the last, I'm sure, decades. But it feels like every year we just get just continuous improvement, a little bit better.
Yeah, find what works, make some
Last year,
changes.
we went to the 2-truck system,
Right.
and that seemed to work pretty well. People were pretty happy. They got cleared
Yeah.
curb to curb a little bit quicker.
And last year, this time, we were about a week away from snow. So I'm just, just saying. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, move on to item C. We have the discussion of a I want to say revolution. It's a Hamilton. Resolution adopting a policy with regard to expense and travel reimbursements. Justin.
Thank you, President Brawley. Public Act 99-604 requires that all units of local government establish formalized procedures for all staff and officials for the regulation of travel, meal, and lodging expenses. We do have a policy already in the employee manual that talks about employees, but it did not include officials, and so that has been added. The new law places 2 obligations. It requires the board to adopt by ordinance or resolution a local policy, and then to approve by roll call vote expenses that exceed the maximum allowable. And there are sections within the resolution that actually talk about those maximums. The new law also prohibits reimbursing entertainment expenses of any kind. Some of the changes include adding officers and employees instead of just the employees. Travel authorization request should be authorized in advance by either a department head or village administrator. The officer or the employee may request authorization to attend such an event if it's been approved in the budget in the appropriate fiscal year. If it's not in that fiscal year budget, It must be pre-approved by the village administrator. And then it goes on to talk about air fare and train fare. 100% of the best economy class rate would be the reimbursement there. Shuttle or airport bus services would be 100% of the cost of the fare. Mileage reimbursement for personal cars, the IRS puts out mileage reimbursement numbers each year, and so we would follow those. Cost of conference, hotel accommodations, and standard accommodations would be low to mid-priced hotels. Maximum reimbursement would be $250. Cost of meals, each year the U.S. General Services Administration puts out a maximum reimbursement, and that is what we would follow. And then if an overnight stay is required, we would follow those same per diem amounts put out by the U.S. General Services Administration. If there are any questions, I could answer them at this time.
Just in the language of allowable expense, not allowable expenses, but the description, for example, of an acceptable airfare expense, is that our language or is that handed to us by this statute?
That is our language. The only items that were added there were the discussion of 100% of the actual cost of the ticket, and the maximum reimbursement for airfare would be 100% of best economy class rate, and that was recommended by the village attorney. Everything prior to that had already been, like the first sentence there was already there, just the second sentence was added because of the requirements of Public Act 99604.
In fact, that first bullet was the one I was going to engage discussion on. I don't fly as much as I used to, but best economy class is almost an oxymoron. My past experience was that economy seats were the most likely to get bumped and not always the most comfortable. Is depending on the sensitivity of the board, I frankly don't care if our people fly in the cheapest possible seat or if they fly in the most reliable seat. And I don't think our people fly that much anyway, so I would argue that maybe that's best economy class rate could be modified to something more passenger friendly.
Coach, or,
I mean, Coach is what we're learning. We're wanting them not to fly first class or business class. I mean, you're
Maybe that's a
whether
better
you
way
call
to,
it coach
or
or
if they
economy,
do that, they
I mean,
can pay
that's
the
what we're-
difference. Yeah.
what we're looking for.
So I know that sounds like a nitpick, but for people that are obliged to travel, it can be a better experience if you've got a better seat.
if I understand and I'm not exactly sure where it was when I read this, but if you were out of town on village business and there was a family emergency and you needed to hop a flight to get back home, the village would cover those expenses for a last-minute fare change or something, correct?
It's not in the section that I was referring to, but in the,
I thought I saw it in here.
there's another area in here that talks about,
Trustee Marisak, I did read that as well. I understood it the same way you're explaining it now.
yes, it's actually on the page following that talks about accidents, serious illness, or death within the officer or employee's immediate family, or other critical circumstances beyond the control of the officer or employee. The village will be obligated to pay the penalties and charges.
I'm glad that's in there.
I just want to make sure that this policy is clear enough and very specific so that it doesn't, nobody gets tripped up by this where we thought we were following the policy and, it turns out 10 years later that somebody wasn't. I just want to make sure that we know.
I mean, the majority of this has been our policy in our HR manual already, in our employee manual. We added some, like I said, to add elected officials, into it, and then made some other changes based on specifics to this new law, but
Okay. This is for approval at a
Yes.
future board meeting.
resolution back at a future meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all the items for discussion. I'd like to move back at this point to item 6. We have the items for separate action. Did I just say that wrong?
No.
Okay. Items for separate action, we have ordinance 1757, amending Chapter 12 of the Montgomery Code of Ordinances regarding the section titled Unlawful to Burn Any Prohibited Materials. This is first reading. I'll turn it over to our senior planner, Jared Chipman.
Thank you, President Brawley. Before you this evening is an amendment to the Village's Code of Ordinances in regards to open burning. First, there's two parts to it. The first one is stating what it would be unlawful to burn, and then the second would be what is allowed to be burned. So the updates really are we've put a maximum size on the size of an open burning fire, and then we have prohibited, or we're proposing that it be prohibited in business and manufacturing districts. Part of this change comes because we have had some history of burning in especially manufacturing districts that has been a source of complaint and code enforcement and police activity for us.
I didn't see a definition of prohibited material unless that's what's incorporated in section 1227.
Yes, we cover that in Section A of
So
1227.
that is the definition. Okay. It does not include charcoal or barbecue type product.
Correct. This is certainly an ordinance that is not created to stifle outdoor, cooking activities.
Comments for staff? All right, this is first reading, so we won't be taking action this evening. That'll be on a future meeting. Item B, we have Resolution 2016-014, authorizing the creation of a new stationary food vendor license for Primo's Tacos at 602 Montgomery Road, and this is in front of the Montgomery Superwash. I'll turn this back over to Jared.
All right. Thank you, President Brawley. Before you this evening, as an item that comes before you on occasion, we do have a separate license for stationary food vendors. We also have another license for mobile food vendors. But we're going to discuss stationary food vendors tonight. The petitioner is in the audience this evening. His name is Carlos Martinez. He is the owner of Primo's Tacos, and he would like to set up his business in front of the Montgomery Superwash, the car wash at 602 Montgomery Road. He owns a truck, so it's some people have trailers, etc., but this is a truck, and he intends to sell tacos out of the truck. I have gone through all of the permit requirements with him, so he is aware of all of those. And as I mentioned, he is here tonight if you have any questions of him. So with that, I'd ask if you have questions of me.
Questions for the applicant or for staff? And they have the approval of the property owner?
Yes, that is a part of the signature on the application.
Hours of operation?
The hours of operation, he did not give me hours of operation, but we have hours of operation mandated by ordinance, at least maximums. So it would be from, the hours are prohibited between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Is this transferable or solely to this entity?
Solely to this entity.
But if he sells the business, it goes with the business. It's not like a liquor license where it's to the individual.
It is to the business.
To the business, okay. When do you plan on opening?
Hello. Hello, my name is Carlos, and thank you for seeing my application. I trying to open this week to start doing business in this. It's a really nice village, Montgomery, and hopefully you can help us to open the food truck. Because a lot of people like to go outside and eat some food. And I like to grow up in the business. I grew up with my dad in the restaurant when I have 4 years old. So I like the restaurant, I like the food, and I like to serve the people. So I would like to grow up on my business.
Is this your first location?
No, I have a restaurant in Aurora.
Okay.
And I see Montgomery, it's a really good area, and it's a really good village to start another business. You know, so I can start with a food truck, then after that maybe you can open a restaurant here in Montgomery.
All right.
And are you thinking that you'd be open daily,
Yes.
weekends? Okay.
Yes, yes.
I just need to know so I know when to come by. I'm a taco guy.
Yeah, usually I have a stand outside of the store on Aurora too, and the people like too much eating outside. You know, I don't know why, but a lot of people like us.
That's a good problem to have, you know. People like your food. All right. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, if there's no other comments or questions of staff of the petition, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Marisak. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And Trustee Bond?
Yes.
That carries 4-0. Thank you. Moving on, item C, change order for the Boulder Hill Water Main Project, Contract C. And I'll turn over to Engineer Wallers.
We are to the end of the contracts for Boulder Hill. Contract C was the last contract. We've just closed it. We're asking tonight for approval of a change order to reduce the contract cost by $154,513.90. That's based on the actual completed quantities of the project, and will then close Contract C. Just to give you an idea of how we get deductions on a contract, and it's a little more of a deduct than we would normally see. But in the Boulder Hill project, as you may recall, there's a lot of carriage walks, there's some narrow rights of way, and the water main was right adjacent to sidewalk, and we anticipated we'd be replacing a lot more sidewalk, for example, than we did. So if you just look at if you go through that list of deductions, you'll see that there's a credit for $44,000 on sidewalk we did not have to replace. So that's a consequence of having better soils and perhaps making a slight adjustment in the location of the main to avoid that. So those are things that happen. We try to manage the contract as it's being constructed to save as much money as we can. Sometimes you're fortunate and you can save money. Other times you're not fortunate and you may go over on a project. This one we had some pretty good flexibility and we're able to save some money. So we're happy that happened, and I'm happy that we're able to close that contract with that saving. So tonight I'd request, again, approval of that change order so we can process it and close the contract. I'd also like to spend just a few seconds going over the project to give you a project summary so that you can just have a recap of contracts A, B, and C. So programmatically, if you want to, I'd stop now and ask for any questions on the change order and then ask for a motion.
I'm not hearing any questions about spending less money.
Yes, thank you. You almost sounded guilty about coming in under budget, and really don't feel that way ever.
The one thought that I had is, did we get an EPA loan for Contract C? And how does that? Okay. So we didn't for this contract?
So what we did is, recall now this is going back to 2012, and maybe I'll just, since the question came up, we'll just go into this a little bit. In 2012, we did the planning for the project, and we agreed at that time to do a portion of it conventionally and a portion of it with low-interest loan. And the reason we did that was so that we could take advantage of immediate construction in 2013. Oftentimes, there's a little bit of a delay when you go after low-interest loan funding. It takes about a year, depending on the way things fall. But, whoops, it might be on, this was part of a slideshow, so it might have automatically turned, so sorry. And I'll restart it if I need to. But anyway, what we agreed to was that we would do contract A with conventional funds. We got that started. And then we went and got approval for contract B to do low-interest loan funds. And then at the end of those two contracts, we came back to you and asked if we had some remaining funds because we had good bids in both A and B, and then we used those monies, which were conventional only, to do contract C. So that's kind of how it evolved from a funding standpoint. So it's split funding, portion of it's bond, portion of it is EPA funding. One other thing that we were fortunate to be able to do is when we envisioned the project, we had budgeted about $8 million was the preliminary budget that we did in 2012. We thought we could replace 18,900 feet of pipe. And through the bidding process, and I think getting a jump on the bids the way we did with the conventional funding, but also we really hit the market when it was soft. If you remember, there was a little bit of a lull in the economy back in 11, 12, and that period of time, and we really got some good bids. And as a result, we were able to do more work. So we actually installed 24,730 feet of pipe, and then you can see the other items that we were able to add to as well. Some of the things that came up, so like the B-box repairs, as we were going through the project, Public Works would alert us to any B-boxes that weren't able to be turned off, for example, so we were able to replace a lot of those that were some in the project limit, if you will, but all of them in Boulder Hill, but some of them even outside a little bit. But we felt like it was the time to get some of this stuff done. You know, we had the funds and we had the that needed to be done. So that work was done as well. So, you know, that was the good news for sure. And then lastly, we saw savings on all of our contracts, but what you'll note is on contract A, we had the most savings, about $362,000, and that's really what drove our contract's ability to do contract C. Not as much savings on the EPA loan side, and those values in the far left were the awarded, so that's actually what the village awarded the contract for, and then the final is what we completed it for. So overall, we saved about $612,000 from the awarded value, and mainly, as I said, it was through some revisions to the alignment of the water main during construction, where we were able to make those changes and then save those monies. And you know, there were also additions to the contract that occurred when we didn't know where pipe was, and there was some learning curve. But overall, again, we were fortunate to be able to make those adjustments, stay within the rights of way. We had better soils than we expected, which was a plus. Which again allowed us to save a lot of the replacement items and not use as many of those quantities. So all in all, I think it was completed expeditiously and efficiently, and we were able to save some money, and we got a lot of work done. So as I understand it, what will happen is we will just pay off the bonds, and I know there was a program schedule for the fee in Boulder Hill. Well, that won't be reduced in amount, but it'll just end sooner because we spent less money. So, that's a good thing. The last thing I wanted to mention tonight, and this is a trend, and if Todd was here, he'd probably hit me over the head to talk about main breaks, but we are seeing a fairly visible alignment of decreasing trend here since we've done those installations in Boulder Hill. So I'd ask everybody right now to knock on wood, though.
Is the last year there 2015? I can't read the year.
2016.
Any?
Yeah, so it's not quite finished.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but awesome. And what, off the top of your head, I thought it was like 10 or 14% of all of the water main in Boulder Hill is what we replaced?
Yeah, so I think there's 161,000 feet of water main in Boulder Hill, so about 20%, I guess, we replaced, roughly.
Okay.
And, we targeted, obviously, areas where we had the most main breaks per foot, and that oftentimes corresponded to the poorest water quality and the pipe that was unlined, where we were having our most problems. So there's still more work to be done, but I think we did get the kind of the worst of the worst and, put a dent in it for sure, so that's all I wanted to cover this evening. Again, I appreciate the approval of the change order.
All right.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz? Thank you.
And that carries 4-0. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. All right, item D, we have an agreement between the Village of Montgomery and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police.
I will cover this one. Just briefly, really, this just officially adopts the contract that the board and the union have already discussed and come to agreement on. So answer any questions, but as said, we've previously discussed this, gone over the different points, and this just finalizes it. I think it was a very cooperative process between the village and the officers, and it really went very smoothly, very quickly. So it was very nice.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion to approve?
This time.
Motion by trustee Marisak,
Second.
second by trustee Bond. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
I said it went smooth this time because they didn't have you and I sit at the table.
All right, item E, we have Resolution 2016-015, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Oswego, the United City Yorkville, and the Village of Montgomery for sharing of certain public works services.
All right, put my Public Works hat back on. This really follows up on the shared services study that we did with Oswego and Yorkville. It really just kind of puts it into writing, kind of laying it out there for the public works departments of the three cities to share where we can. So like with our bucket truck, if one of the other communities doesn't have a bucket truck, we would let them use it. I know Todd's been talking to Oswego about making use of their brine making facility. They can make a lot larger quantities than he can with his homemade version. And so really it's just sort of codifying it in an agreement between the three communities that where we can, we'll share and just try and make it more efficient, more cost efficient for our residents and services we provide. With that, I would answer any questions.
This agreement was previously approved by one or two of the other communities.
Oswego and Yorkville previously approved. They will have to, they're going to approve it again with amended because we weren't in the,
Okay.
they approved, the two of them approved one the first time. So now they'll reapprove with the three of us.
All right.
Are we in the group of early adopters in this kind of agreement, or?
I think relatively. I mean, communities are going more that way, trying to share
Makes sense.
resources where they can, rather than, like, say, especially with certain pieces of equipment, rather than every community having one.
We do this with the police department as well, correct? With some tactical vehicles and things? We've done some,
Correct. Also, firearms and joint training.
I like the collaborative nature of it. Again, saves all the taxpayers, ours, theirs, everybody's.
Agreed. Thanks for pursuing that.
And this was, well, the shared services grant was a CMAP grant that we got. CMAP, I believe, submitted that for some annual award. I know they reached out to me to ask about that, so hopefully others will follow suit. All right.
Motion,
Mm-hmm.
you want a motion?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve?
Actually, yes. Sorry. Second. Any discussion? I got lost in my agenda. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
And Trustee Heinz?
That carries 4-0. And this one's first reading. Item F, we have ordinance 1755, amending the Village of Montgomery Village Code, Chapter 16.5, Section 16.5-6E, Charitable Games Act.
All right. This one arose from a request from the VFW. They were interested in conducting some Hold'em poker tournaments. Currently, that's licensed through the state, and they would work through state with that, but municipalities can prohibit those locally if they want, and we currently do prohibit that. So what this would do is would eliminate that prohibition here locally, and then they would work through the state, and as long as, the state okays and they're good with the state, then them and other charitable organizations could hold such activities. So with that, I would answer any questions, or if you have legal questions, Jessica could help you out. I won't pretend to do that.
How is charitable defined?
That sounds like a legal definition.
It's not enumerated in the,
It's not included in the ordinance, but that's something, I don't know the definition offhand, so I could certainly get that to you and the rest of the board if that's something you'd like to have before you consider this again.
it's my only hesitancy. I would like for the board to not be engaged in discussions about what is and is not a charity on a one-on-one basis, so some kind of guiding language maybe would be helpful.
And if I'm reading this correctly, I think that's probably part of the Illinois definition, Illinois Charitable Games Act. I'm guessing they have a charity definition within it.
On the state definition and saying if
Of
it's
it.
okay under, if it qualifies under the state law, then, and you get the permit through the state, then it's okay here for the village. But how that act defines charitable,
What if we incorporated their language in ours? There's a better word than incorporated, but that way people wouldn't have to do so much homework.
Well, if I may add, I did some research on this about a year ago for the Rotary organization. We were looking to do the same thing. And in order to even do it, you have to be licensed through the state. You have to go through their whole process, and it's a 2-year license, and I believe it was about $400. So you would basically be proving that you are a charitable organization with your 501c3 papers. I don't know that we need to incorporate any state language in, because that would be an umbrella over.
We
What
incorporate
we're
the reference
doing.
to the language in here.
Right.
We have the reference.
Which
there.
then, if the state updated or changed, it would just follow. So, correct me if I'm wrong, the only authority we have in the matter is whether to allow it village-wide or not allow it.
Correct.
And we would not, and we probably cannot, because we're on home rule, we cannot permit this or get involved other than that. So the state would,
Right, it's just, do we want to allow, if they go through the state process, do we want to allow them to conduct charitable games
Okay.
or not?
I think if somebody meets that level of burden, and I think several of us have navigated that through the state, if they can make it through that,
You can
and they're
make through
still
the
interested
state
in doing
process,
then does the police department have any concerns about charitable games?
No, we're fine.
Well, the VFW, I think, falls under a different statute. So the 501c3 is not.
Commander Rob is here tonight if you have any questions. Jen?
You can come up to the podium if you like.
Hi, good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the new commander for the VFW. Essentially, what we're looking to do is, we fall under a district, District 19. It's how the VFW is broken down. And District 19 currently holds a charitable poker tournament 2 or 3 times a year, basically. And they're currently doing it all the way down in Toyota Park. And what we do is we use, it's called Chicago Charitable Poker. They're out of Orland Park. Our district itself has a license through the state. The company that we use, Chicago Charitable, they will only do for nonprofits only. So us as the VFW here, we would not make any money off of it. The district will make money off it. They take 10% with a maximum of $5. So you have to prove to the state that you are a nonprofit in order to work with them. If you're a nonprofit, they will not work with you. So essentially, Chicago Charitable is just a marketing firm. They bring everybody in, they do all the work, they even have their own security and stuff like that, which there's never been any problems. The district would just like to bring it closer here, because this is our area. Toyota Park is out of our district. It's actually set for 2017 to be held in Warrenville. We have to do our licensing a year out. So that's why I'm trying now, so we can get it for 2018, to have it here. That's all. Any questions?
It seems like it takes a very long time. They plan for the Olympics like a year more than that.
That's our state.
All right, thank you. If you guys have any, this is first reading, if anybody has any thoughts now, or at a future meeting, we'll approve it.
I make a motion.
It doesn't say second reading, so I don't think we can.
Oh, you can't?
Nope.
No, it's just a
So we'll do that at a future meeting. Okay?
Okay.
If you have any thoughts, let Jeff know. All right, we already did items for discussion. Is there any new or unfinished business? Denny Lee did want to mention to everybody that he is currently in the hospital for one reason, that he was so upset about the Packers getting blown out that he ended up in the hospital tonight. So, but we wish him well, and certainly we'll see him at the next meeting.
Not the way the Packers are playing.
I had one
Go ahead.
retrospective comment to make about the Halloween safety event at the police department in the village. Many, many good comments about that event. It was another good one, extremely well attended. I think it's really good for the community, and I know a lot of work went into it, so I thought appropriate to recognize it.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'll pass that on to everyone.
Please.
All right, hearing none. Still, the floor is open. All right. Hearing none, Plan Commission meeting this Thursday, 7 p.m., and our Committee of the Whole meeting has been canceled. The next Village Board meeting will be Monday, November 28th at 7 p.m. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment of an employee.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
And Trustee Spurling?
yes.
Thank you.